In this iconic building, beyond its giant doors, is one of the finest natural history collections in the world. From rare space rocks to the dodo, its collection spans over 4 billion years. And one of the biggest draws are the dinosaurs.
My mum used to bring me here with my friends for my birthday. And I was just so excited the day before just to come down here. And I just walked into the big hall and saw Dippy there. And it always brings out that wow.
Cassius Morrison has always been obsessed with dinosaurs.
I think there's that essence of like childhood magic. Like they are like monsters, but they're not. They're actually real animals. As a kid, my dad actually gave me a nickname, Professor Cassiosaurus. I just love dinosaurs so much.
Just over a year ago, Cassius started working as a researcher at the museum.
It's just so surreal because as a kid you were walking around there and you're like, oh, you're trying to, pressing your fingers against the glass and trying to see them and trying to get through the crowds. And here you have it all to yourself and you're just like, wow, I'm actually working here. And it's just like amazing.
Today, Cassius has come down to the museum's vaults, and he has his eye on one terrifying specimen from a dinosaur that walked the Earth 80 million years ago.
This is a lower jaw of a dinosaur named Gorgosaurus. It's a cousin of T-Rex. The Gorgosaurus can reach up to about 8 to 9 meters in length, so it's a substantially large animal, more slenderly built than T-Rex, so he would be slightly faster.
The name Gorgosaurus literally means fierce lizard, and its remains have been found in America and Canada. And like its close relative, the T-Rex, it survived by hunting and eating other creatures. Fully grown, it was almost the length of a double-decker bus.
So the most striking feature of this jawbone are the teeth, and they're actually nearly the size of a human finger. So they would have gone through bone, they would have gone through flesh.
Today, Cassius is scanning the fossilised jaw. He hopes the scan will tell him more about this prehistoric killing machine.
So from this lower jawbone, we'll be able to look into how it might bite. So there's quite a lot of information that could be gained, and when we compare it to T-Rex, and sort of understand more about senses and even hunting behaviours.
This giant dinosaur jawbone has never been CT scanned before.
I'm really excited to be able to see what is preserved. Just can't wait.
The scan takes at least 12 hours, and then it needs to be analysed. So Cassius should soon know much more about this T-Rex's relative. Kat is on her way to one of the public galleries with her trolley of treasures.
It's always a little bit fiddly with these trolleys. They've got a character. Thank you very much.
She's got an ammonite, starfish, a dinosaur's vertebra, and a rather surprising item.
This one just here. What do you think that might be? This is fossilised dinosaur poo. Trying to think of...
Is the
no, so it's the poo.
Oh.
Yeah. Hello, hi. Have you been able to touch any fossils today? This one is my favourite one. Now this is dinosaur poo. Would you like to touch it?
Would you like to?
I promise, it's safe.
It's not smelly.
I know. So yeah, it doesn't smell anymore. You don't need to wash your hands. Poo. Exactly it. So we have some dinosaur poo. Yeah. Thank you so much for having a chat. Have a lovely rest of your day. If someone thinks that science is boring, they just haven't found the right area of science to get them excited yet. It's really heavy. I think it's lovely. I would say I'm a bit of a nerd. I think you have to be to work here, to be honest. Have a lovely rest of your day. See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you for chatting.
2 years ago, a mysterious incident in Gloucestershire came to the attention of one of the museum's space experts, Ashley King. It happened in the small rural town of Winchcombe one February evening, right outside the house of Rob and Catherine Wilcock. And it was to change our understanding of how life on Earth began forever.
Hannah, our daughter, heard something shatter on the driveway. But being 9:45 at night, it was dark, so she didn't see anything. In the morning, I'm an early riser, so I drew the lounge curtains there and I saw this pile of rocks. And I thought, oh, is that an oil spill or could it be something different? Not quite sure.
We really didn't know what it was. We didn't think it had come down from an aircraft because it wasn't a piece of twisted metal. And so we were just a bit confused. What on earth is this thing?
By now, there were reports that a fireball had been seen in the skies above Winchcombe. So Rob took a picture of the mystery rubble and sent it to the museum.
I found some rubber gloves, put it into a clean plastic bag. The phone rang and that was when the scientists got in touch with us.
A local meteorite expert was sent straight over.
Within an hour he arrived and he got on the phone to the Natural History Museum straight away and said to Dr. Ashley King, "You've got to get yourself up here."
When he was sent the photos, Ashley was astonished.
I got the pictures from the Wilcock family who'd found this splat, and it was just like, wow, we've got a meteorite. It was really rare for us to find a meteorite in the UK. It's going to be a career highlight for all of us.
Ashley immediately drove to Winchcombe.
He started to examine the meteorite on a table that we put out, and they used my kitchen scales to weigh the meteorite on, so it was rather a surreal and bizarre situation.
And when a tiny piece of rock or dust from space comes through our atmosphere, we get this bright streak that we call a meteor. They can be going up to 70 kilometers per second. And they come through the atmosphere, they slow down, and the outer surface starts getting heated up by friction. And what you see is this really bright streak that we call the fireball.
When Ashley examined it, he could tell the meteorite had been on an incredible journey, travelling around 200 million miles through space before landing in Winchcombe.
We know that it came from somewhere near Jupiter. So it started off life on an asteroid in the outer edges of what we call the asteroid belt, which is between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter.
The meteorite discovery was the biggest story to hit Winchcombe in quite a while.
Meteorite may put a bit of our drive into the museum. This is an interesting one. It says, meteorite makes an exhibition of the family's scorched driveway. Well, it wasn't scorched at all because meteorites aren't hot when they land, but whoever wrote this decided that the driveway had been scorched.
It makes good headlines, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rob and Catherine donated the meteorite to the museum, and remarkably, this small piece of rock could hold the secrets of how all life on Earth began. When visitors arrive at the Natural History Museum, the first sight to greet them is Hope the whale. This magnificent blue whale skeleton measures 25 meters from tip to tail and weighs over 4 tons. It's the largest permanent exhibit they have, but not everything in the museum is so supersized.
Today I have the small task of trying to add labels to, I don't know, 4,500 specimens. Obviously, I'm not all going to do that in a day.
Erica McAllister helps look after the museum's fabulous fly collection, all 2.5 million of them.
I've written up some data labels already. These are like 4.5 font. They're tiny.
The museum has taken up the mammoth task of putting their 80 million strong collection online so anyone can learn more about our natural world and how to protect it.
This is really meticulous because you do not want to do all of this and realise you've done a date wrong or something like that. Because these labels will hopefully outlive me by hundreds of years.
But behind all the labelling, Erica's convinced of one thing. She passionately believes flies get a bad press and wants to show the world how great they are.
One down, 4,500 to go. It's great.
Today, Erica's skipping her labelling duties and has come on a fly safari with one of her colleagues. She's meeting Penny Green at Knepp in West Sussex. It's a very special estate that is letting nature run wild.
Good to see you. So it's really nice being up here because we've got a really great view over the whole of the estate.
How big is the estate?
It's about 3,500 acres, so it's a pretty large area that's put aside for nature conservation.
Oh, it's lovely.
This scrubland is just amazing for wildlife, and you've come at a perfect time of year. Great weather for a bit of fly catching.
In the 20 years since Knepp's owner decided to let nature take over, rare and endangered species, including storks, beavers, hedgehogs, and nightingales have returned. And stopping pesticide spraying has seen many rare insects come back too. A greater variety of plants and animals means a healthier planet.
How many species of insects have you recorded here so far?
About 1,800 different species of insects being recorded.
Wow, and how many of those are flies?
Not many, Erica, and that's why we love this link with the Natural History Museum.
Who knows what we're still going to find?
Today, Erica's hoping to add to the count of flies that have been found at Knepp, and there's one in particular she's on the lookout for.
Look, if you see when I sweep, you're just going to get this plume. Can you see them all? Just coming up, sorry, spider's web. And so I'm going to go for dollies. And they're just amazing, mostly metallic green species. For example, there's some. We generally go for the males. Oh, there goes one. Whew, there's just bugs flying everywhere. And off they fly.
Oh, cycodid, hello! Excellent.
That's what Zoe collects. Oh, there's a load of hoppers in this one, you can tell. There, a load of spiders. I often sit there at the end of field work with like spiders abseiling off my head. Here's a baby bug. We let that little baby go. It's very immature, like many of my friends. We will then take a GPS and we will take the latitude and longitude of the habitat. So that's really, really important. We will take the time and we will take the sampling method.
By working out where different types of flies are found around the UK, Erica can see how they are coping with our changing climate.
But also the date is important, so we can now see whether they've emerged later. Do we have adults on the wing later? And we will know again that's an impact of climate change. A warmer habitat means that we may have these flowers going for longer, which means their food source is going for longer. So all of these are really important to help us understand climate change.
In the last 50 years, almost half of all UK species have seen their numbers drop.
So having these sorts of habitats, understanding how we can create more, how we can look after them, it's really, really useful for us to, as part of our defence in this changing landscape. I have, I think, swallowed a fly, however, which is not the best way of sampling flies. If I get stuck here, you're right driving my camper van home.
No, definitely not.
Ooh.
Back at the museum, not everyone is such a big fan of insects. In fact, there's a war going on with tiny flying creatures.
My job is to preserve the natural beauty of these specimens.
Armando Mendez is the museum's resident pest controller.
The whole of the museum is a little bit of a battleground with insect pests, and this is my job. This is what I try to do. I try to keep them away and protect the specimens like I'm protecting them against a very serious threat, an enemy.
For the public, the objects on display are great to look at, but to a moth, they're a slap-up meal. Museums around the world have had collections wiped out by these pesky pests, and Armando keeps an old display to show the damage they can cause.
Take a look at this level of destruction. This is just bits and pieces of insect. All of the specimens are gone. Every single individual is completely destroyed. That's why pests are a really serious #1 enemy for this museum. But if we focus on the species themselves that are a problem for us and we try to understand them, then we can get somehow ahead of them.
Armando has a cunning plan to stay one step ahead of the moths. It's natural and environmentally friendly.
This is one of our secret weapons. This is a compound female pheromone.
Pheromones are the chemicals creatures give off when they're trying to attract a mate. By setting traps with female pheromones, Armando is hoping to lure the males in and cover them with female scent. Male moths are then attracted to other male moths because of the way they smell, so breeding rates drop. This afternoon, he's come to check one of the 1,800 traps set up throughout the museum.
This is very good news. There is only one dead moth here. And it's very good news because only 10 years ago, this would have been absolutely covered, completely stuffed with moths. And to prove it, I kept a trap from that long ago. So this is dated in 2011, March. And this was the state of our galleries back then with this particular insect. It was absolutely rampant with it. But now it feels like we're winning the war.
The day is coming to a close for many at the museum. But for some, it's the beginning of a long night.
524 are booked in. We do get no-shows occasionally, so we might get a few no-shows, but 524 have confirmed.
Tonight, they are hosting a super-sized sleepover for several hundred guests.
So we need to finish setting up the mats so that they've all got somewhere to sleep when they come in, because they don't get to pick where they sleep. We allocate their sleeping spaces, because about 300 children getting to choose where they sleep. You can imagine what carnage that would be.
It's events manager Georgina's job to control the chaos.
Yes, I'm a bit frazzled, but otherwise I'm okay.
Bonjour, salut. Good morning, guys. Welcome.
Since the museum first opened its doors in 1881, countless millions of visitors have come to marvel at its collection. But today there's one special corner dedicated to helping the public identify their finds. Everything from bugs to bones or fossils. They receive around 2,000 inquiries a year, and it's always a surprise to open the post in the morning because rock specialist Ben Dixon never knows what he might find.
Definitely an adventure going into these things sometimes. Be a little careful. And it is the proverbial flint. It looks to me like a bit of sponge. which is a very common fossil found in flint. This is actually very well preserved, so it's actually a really nice piece.
Hello. The first visitors today are Jenny and 7-year-old Iris. They brought a mystery stone she found in her school playground.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I just found this like kind of grey lump in the ground, and then I saw the shiny bit of it. I put it in my pocket and we just went to class. We weren't allowed to have dirty rocks in class, so I had to put it in my tray so nobody would confiscate it.
Most people your age maybe bring in little bits of glass or flint. You seem to have found a crystal.
Ben thinks Iris's crystal could be something incredibly special.
It might be emerald, but I can't think of any other crystal that it might be. Emerald deposits are in very rare areas in the world, so I mean it's pretty incredible that it's in your school.
Emeralds are usually dug up in South America or Africa, not primary schools in South London.
I'd like to look at it closer. Maybe you want to look at it under a microscope or something like that? Would that be a good idea?
To confirm that Iris's discovery really is a prized emerald, Ben needs to take a closer look.
This is our Citizen Science Center. And so if we look at it under the microscope, but it does seem layered and does seem somewhat crystalline. Now, do you want to look through it?
Yeah. What can you see?
So if you can move it with your hand.
I would say that it's very sparkly. Very, I feel like crystallish is a word, but...
I like that word. Crystallicious. Well, Iris, thank you for bringing that in. I'm amazed by the specimen, so I think I rarely get to see an emerald, so in a way I've learned a lot.
Iris will never know how her emerald came to be in her playground, but the mystery of what it is finally solved.
It was great to be able to come in to have this experience and with your emerald.
I think I'm going to put my emerald on display at home. Maybe even show it to public.
For a state management team, Ben and Keith, there are certain perks that come with the job.
So it's fantastic to come up here. It's one of the only parts of the museum where you can see the whole scale of the museum. We can see the towers at the front. We can see these roofs we're replacing, and it's our secret place.
But it's not just a spot to get away from the crowds. There's work to be done. First up, checking the museum's newly installed solar panels, all helping to save the planet.
Every flat roof on the museum we're looking at as an opportunity to put solar power to run the museum.
But there's also the task of maintaining the museum's sloping roofs.
These roofs have been giving us problems for probably 20 years, but there is a point where you can patch no longer because we're sticking patches on patches. There's some lead tags there, some repairs. So what are we seeing here, Ben?
So what we see here, we've just had our first shipment of new slate come in, and we're currently now at the point where we're on our first 18-metre stretch of roof, which our contractors are working on.
And because it's the Natural History Museum, Keith has an ingenious solution on hand to a tricky problem.
When we started this project, we didn't know where the original slates came from. So we've used one of the museum scientists, and we've been able to determine within 99% certainty the quarry it came from in Cumbria. We've gone back to that quarry, and they're making new slates for the museum 140 years later. This is what the Natural History Museum looks like laid bare. Now we're wrapping it up in a big warm duvet jacket that's going to keep the museum warm and protect the people and the collections for the next 100 years.
When a meteorite crashed on the Wilcox driveway in Winchcombe, Gloucestershire, it made headlines around the world.
It did make us feel like local celebrities for a short while.
The section of their driveway is now housed at the Natural History Museum in London.
This is amazing for us to have in our collection because it helps tell the story of the Winchcombe meteorite. It was amazing that the Wilcox went, oh yeah, we don't mind if you cut out a piece of your driveway. And hopefully this will go on display at the museum and people can come and see this and learn about meteorites and why we're interested in them and see a little bit of UK history.
The arrival of the meteorite is the biggest event in space expert Ashley's career.
Make sure the surfaces are clean.
Today, he and colleague Charlotte have got the chance to examine what's become known as the Winchcombe meteorite.
Okay, so this was collected less than 12 hours after landing on the Earth's surface. And we can say it's really fresh because it's really, really dark in colour. So this is pretty much the freshest meteorite I think I've ever had the opportunity to hold. And therefore, people across the world in meteorites have been kind of doing little dances and celebrating because we kind of have, you know, other than sending a spacecraft to collect material from an asteroid, this is kind of like a natural sample return. Okay, that's now firmly in place, so we just close that chamber.
Ashley's using a high-tech microscope to look at the surface of the meteorite in incredible detail.
So we've just turned the electron beam on. You can see most of these grains that we're looking at in here are really, really fine detail that we can start seeing, and we're kind of almost picking apart the history of the solar system atom by atom. So did we find the carbonate grain, do you think?
Carbonate grain is here.
We can see an amazing little mineral that would have formed when water was on the asteroid that Winchcombe came from.
Incredibly, the microscope reveals evidence that there was water on the Winchcombe meteorite, and that could provide a clue to how life here on Earth first came about.
So that tells us we had water out there in the solar system really, really early on.
So really, really important stuff.
Now, Ashley's using a scanner to see what the meteorite is made of, hoping this little rock from outer space can solve one of the most fascinating questions of all. Where does the water on Earth come from? Ashley's analysing the meteorite's water to see if it's the same as the water we have on Earth.
So it contains about 12–13% water locked up within these minerals, and the composition of that water is actually really similar to the composition of the Earth's oceans. And so this is a really good piece of evidence that meteorites like Winchcombe and the asteroids out there near Jupiter were one of the ways we could deliver water to the early Earth.
Amazingly, this could mean our oceans were formed by meteorites dumping water as they crashed into Earth over billions of years. And without water, there is no life.
The Winchcombe meteorite has given us a hint, a really tantalising clue to the origin of the Earth's oceans and where we may have got those ingredients for life.
This potentially means that every one of the living specimens collected and housed in this magnificent building can in some way be traced back to meteorites, like the one that landed in Winchcombe. It's 7 p.m. and at last the dinosaurs have got the place to themselves. But not for long, because tonight 300 children are booked in for one of the Natural History Museum's monthly sleepovers.
We're going to have a dino sleepover party. This hall is absolutely beautiful. It would be really hard to rob this place.
As you can see, there's a lot of excitement going on behind me. It's really nice to be in this room with a big blue whale over us and a dinosaur next to us, quite special. I'm not sure how much sleep we're going to get tonight. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. looking forward to the activities. I'm looking forward to anything that involves food, like the breakfast tomorrow.
How are you feeling? So the first we have, one of our scientists, Zoe, is going to do an amazing science show on terrific tentacles.
As well as terrific tentacles, there's dino drawing and a torchlit fossil forage.
I think the favourite part of the night is now. It's when they start their activities and it just kind of, it calms down a little bit, it feels a little less frantic.
So my favourite fossil so far is the mammoth. My favourite fossil is, can you name a fossil for me? Well, what about that one? That's the blue whale. The blue whale fossil.
By 11 p.m, with the children getting ready for bed, Georgina is hoping to grab a bit of downtime.
Okay, so this is my office. This is my bedroom for the night. This is where I get to sleep between 1 and 6 a.m. And then we pop this little sign on the door, just so that security know that we're sleeping in here, and when they do their patrols and checks, they don't come bursting in and shining torches in our face.
Dinosaur researcher Cassius is back at the museum after being out on a fossil hunt in North America.
To go out there, to go digging, there's that sense of you have no idea what you're going to find. And when you find the bone, it's always amazing. It's like, wow, this is a dinosaur bone.
He visited Illinois. North America is where the giant meat-eating Gorgosaurus lived 80 million years ago.
I went to see lots of amazing fossils, went on a field trip, amazing trip, met amazing people. I saw some T-Rex specimens, saw some other theropod specimens, and we opened up a fossil site as well, which was really exciting.
Now he's back, he's able to see the initial results of the CT scans he took of the Gorgosaurus Jawbone before he left. He's looking for clues to help explain how this vicious meat-eater survived and flourished.
It is always a special moment looking within the dinosaur bone, because no one's done it before. So this is the jawbone coming up here. We can then look inside the teeth and go all the way through the jawbone to then the other side. So we actually can look directly within the bone without harming it in any way.
Remarkably, the scan reveals something intriguing: how the Gorgosaurus remained such a successful hunter.
If it was to lose any of its teeth, it would be unable to take down any prey. If it's unable to take down any prey or even scavenge, it would be unable to get any food, and therefore it would die.
The scan shows how over time the species developed a tooth production line. New ones were constantly growing inside the creature's jaw, ready to replace its existing teeth if they were knocked out or damaged.
So here we've got some of the outer teeth, and inside we can see some of the teeth which are growing. It always amazes me to see these little teeth underneath the big teeth there to come out straight away and chomp on some dinosaurs.
Cassius's research helps explain why the Gorgosaurus and other dinosaurs remained so successful for so long, all those millions of years ago. And studying dinosaurs can also reveal why they were eventually wiped out, and tell us more about how to help animals facing extinction today. The meteorite that landed in Winchcombe is now at the museum. It's been donated by Rob and Catherine Wilcock, and today Ashley's invited them along to say thank you and to see the rock that travelled almost 200 million miles to land in their driveway.
Ashley.
Hey, how are you doing? Really good to see you again. Welcome back to the museum. If you follow me, let's go.
Let's go.
Wonderful, thank you.
Oh, just look at that. They do. Amazing.
Follow me then into the meteorite collection at the museum.
This is where they all
Come on in.
Is it?
been a real community kind of event trying to recover this meteorite and then study it. And then we have our new star cabinet that arrived just recently.
The museum has splashed out on a state-of-the-art nitrogen chamber. It houses the meteorite in pristine conditions where it can't be contaminated by the Earth's atmosphere.
We were so excited and we managed to go up and convince people to give us some money so that in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, people can come back and they can analyse these things. It will still be pristine, almost exactly how it was when you picked it up on your driveway.
It didn't alter it. Look at that. Now look, that's the Winchcombe meteorite over there. It's on its own shelf.
2022. Great, lovely. Yeah, very clear, isn't it?
And Ashley's further research into the rock has already thrown up another extraordinary development. Not only is there water in the meteorite, but amazingly, it also contains the building blocks of life itself.
We also know it contains like organic type material, so it doesn't have life, doesn't have creepy crawlies and things locking around in it, but it has things like amino acids. So those building blocks you need to start making DNA.
For Rob and Catherine, it's incredible to realise that out of all the 80 million specimens, large and small, old and new, the one they contributed helps us answer perhaps the biggest question of all: how life came to be on Earth in the first place.
We all ask questions about how the universe began. So we're very pleased that we've been a small part of that journey.
Erica is back at the museum after her fly safari to Knepp, a country estate where nature has been allowed to run wild. Now she's sorting out what she's got.
So, look, I mean, that's all dollies, but it's so beautiful. What we produce here will be a species list of some of the insects found at Knepp. Now, these will be maybe new records for Knepp, so we can start understanding how we've got different populations, so this is great.
And Erica's discovered more.
We're seeing changes in how our insects live. So previously we might have just had one generation, but because it's getting warmer, they might have one that comes out earlier because it's warmer in spring, and then one that comes out later in autumn because it's still warm then. So we can see if we get these two different populations coming out.
For Erica, having two generations of these flies born in the same season is an indication that our changing climate is really altering the natural world.
These will tell us about climate change as well, because we can look at where they come from, the importance of that. So there's many different ways that these dead insects can tell us so much about the living planet.
The results from over 2 years of monitoring the rewilding program at Knepp have convinced Erica that there are still ways to combat the worst effects of climate change.
They found new species at Knepp, so new species to the UK. So it shows you how well the rewilding is going. And it's just lovely to know that this rewilding effort is one of the many tools that can actually encourage British wildlife to flourish once more. Shows that Knepp is doing something really correct, because it gives us hope that we can actually fight against the negativity that climate change will bring.